Just answering questions with WAPTech. Here we go. Cops, politicians, etc. love their public order. They don't like it when you mess with it. This is a comment under one of the videos about Delphi. It's going to take more than solving this case as of today to deter a lot of the nutters that upload videos on the subject. By the way, when you say nuttas, you're supposed to say it with a British accent, apparently. So, Commonwealth person, hello, how are you? You're correct. It ain't a person under the bridge. One of the pictures taken by a local lady who was on the trails on the bridge that same day as the killing happened really doesn't show that. And yeah, I know. And again, except for the videos where people enhance, most of its pareidolia pure and simple and relies on JPEG compression and screw-ups. Pro tip, if you're taking a picture of an area, I recommend doing what actual photographers do and take more than one picture and take them a couple of seconds apart and maybe from a slightly different position, but only slightly. This allows us to have two images that we can parallel and make a 3D image out of. I used to do that a lot. It made it to where I could get out details. I'd also see anomalies that were really anomalies taken by the camera. This goes for film as well as, digital. And remember, the compression algorithm, depending on how aggressive it is, may produce weird artifacts in every photo you look at. It's a good way to test them. There was a group of people that would test cameras by doing two parallel images, putting them about 6 inches apart, and then doing a stereogram with them. I've been blocked from channels for pointing out not only that their current new theory was covered years ago, and also provide links to the coverage, but also providing many reasons and to probably discount said theory. Well, welcome to the If these people were making reasonable amounts of cash for recycling already disproven theories to people who don't know any better, I would say okay, since they would now learn of it, and also because, well, okay, they had some motivation. They don't seem to be doing that. I see no footholds being made in the tower that leads to wealth. So I guess they have ulterior motives. One of the channels is continuing to embarrass themselves as we speak. It would be cool if we could block channels that offend us deeply. You can actually do that. There's a couple of plugins you can do for your browser and such, but they really don't work very well. And let's see. I guess YouTube likes the drama and insanity too much. And it'll also propose them even if you block them, so yeah. I redacted the name here because it was some initials. I'm pretty sure I know who it is, but I'm not going to bother looking it up. Such and such doesn't even realize he's stupid. Grown man has no control over his urges to bully people and belittle them just because he's unhappy that day. It's embarrassing. I wouldn't tolerate this if it was a kid. Yeah. And that, because I've not mentioned which channel it is, that applies to a pretty good number of them. And again, this isn't just, shouldn't just apply to true crime YouTube channels or just a lot of people on the internet like this. Reminds me of the time a friend stayed up for too many nights and tied plastic bags around the light fittings in my house because he thought the cops were watching us through the bulbs. They thought they were outside and in the attic. Every time I had to reason with him, he'd yell, "Shut up, you're giving us away." Tried to get through to him for hours and hours. What were these crazy people all doing before the internet? Or did the internet send them to be crazy? As someone who has, in their real life, already had to face the fact that after many years, some of my friends were the kind of mentally ill that you can't be friends with, I presume those creators have some issues and can't be around that content anymore. I want to bring up the bulb thing. I really, really did find all the sources for people making claims about bulbs. And the funny thing is, it's not smart bulbs. It's not even LED bulbs. It was complaints about efficient bulbs and fluorescent compact bulbs. Anything that was different was assumed to be, well, why are they selling it for a discount? They told you. They're selling it to you cheap because they want to have everybody put them in because they waste electricity less. Light bulbs, if you're not aware of it, old style ones, are ridiculously inefficient. I mean, if you need to keep a place heated, then it's not really wasted. You're just using the bulbs to produce heat. As long as they're produced in a way that won't waste heat into the ceiling and not put it in the air, it's okay. And yes, for turn signals and traffic control lights and stuff, old style heating element light bulbs at one time were really just the best thing. They're not anymore. Now we have LEDs that are properly made. I want to point out that there is a light bulb conspiracy version 1 and version 2. The light bulb conspiracy originally was to make it to where it was profitable at the cost of you and I having decent bulbs. Mostly so they'd last a long time. But it had some rationale to it. Light bulb conspiracy 2 consisted of light bulb companies deliberately putting out crappy versions of LED bulbs and fluorescent bulbs when they first came out to force people to think that they were crappy so the people could choose to buy the older bulbs they were making more money off of. And they would collect the subsidy money from our tax dollars and have a win-win situation where all of us lost. That's really what happened. And the thing is, it's been outed so much that most of the light bulb companies just put a war chest of money aside to pay the fees and fines when they got caught committing a felony. But as for listening to us through our if you have a light bulb that you buy that requires you pair it with a smartphone, that is an intrusion that's real, and it's done from corporate America. Corporations outperform entire secret government agencies like 100 to 1 for spying on us. If you're using the platform you're seeing this video on, even if it's on another platform, you're being spied on. We've learned to accept that. As long as they disclose what they're grabbing from us, and as long as every once in a while a whistleblower will tell us what they're really doing, and we find out at least it's obfuscated to where it can't really be used to fuck with us, we're okay. And then you find out about a court case where the FBI just asked Google, yeah, give us the AdSense data on this guy. Okay. And immediately you find out, yeah, they're literally spying on your every move. But it ain't the light bulbs. I mean, at least we know that, right? Right? And yes, it's okay if it has a little black chip with like 20 pins on it or whatever. It's an analog circuit or a digital circuit for making it work better and be a lot less noisy. LEDs shouldn't flicker at a range that you can see. It should be more than 1,000 times a second. There's no reason to make them do it slower. But anyway, flicker factor. Yes, I'm going to go off on tangents because I have not just pet peeves, I have entire rant fests. Okay, let's move on to the question and answers here. But yeah, I'm noticing some people can't be around certain issues, and it would be better. I don't want to propose this, but I want to ask everybody a real serious question here. If you knew for a fact, now I'm a good example. Let's use me as an example. I went out of my way not to find out what's going on with Donald Trump. I have not looked any voluntarily anyway, any Donald Trump news recently. I know that he is being indicted and being dragged through the mud on a bunch of things. Now, again, I have to repeat this. Impeaching him twice and getting nothing out of it was a dick move. It didn't establish any goddamn thing. If anything, it excluded a bunch of evidence from being brought into court. And they should have just said, whether you're in office or not, once you're out of office, we're allowed to take you to court and just throw you into the legal system. And they'd have to do it in such a way that when he was no longer part of the legal system, nobody could interfere. As you can see, some are more equal than others. Donald Trump, and I mean this in a positive way towards Donald Trump, should have been legally permitted to be dragged kicking and screaming into court if he wanted to be, if he wanted to make it that way, and then immediately say, prima facie evidence presented first. Compel the court. You will present all prima facie evidence first, and I will drop any complaints. And you can have all your subpoenas, but they have to go through a legal system, the court system. This cannot be gone through any politicians. And if he's in power, even though he's not in power anymore, he could order everybody, you will back off and allow the court system to do its worst because I am Donald Trump and I'm awesome. That's what he should have done. That would have impressed the fuck out of me because he'd be sitting there, I'm not going to admit to anything. You know, he's a wheeler dealer from New York. He's a New York stock, land grabber. He's used to this shit. Have you ever seen Donald Trump in court? I mean, there are a very, very small number of videos and some people reenacting it from transcripts. I would pay to watch that. Even if he went down in flames. Because it would have been literally him and a stack of lawyers against a bunch of people that had to be told, you have to present evidence, not just try to destroy his reputation. I agree with impeaching him. If they did only one thing, do you have hard evidence against him on anything yet? No, then don't do it. Everybody agrees with that. I mean, even if you don't like Donald Trump, the fact that he could not get impeached because it was politicians acting as judges. We don't need that. No, take him to real court. He's used to that. He has no problem going to court. And force the situation for, bring up the prima facie evidence, the stuff that's absolutely hard evidence. Let's get this out of the way. Now we'll do the bullshit evidence, as I like to call it, otherwise known as maybe it's real. And it would have been a real courtroom, not a bunch of politicians doing basically publicity stunt. I've come to that conclusion that, yeah, I wanted him impeached, but they didn't impeach him for shit they had. They didn't. Well, we're going to bandy it about. At that point, it's not a court. Now, where am I going with this? Nowhere. Just went off on a tangent. See, that's what happens when I don't script anything. So let's go on to the next question. But yeah, there's some content, as you can tell, that I shouldn't look up. I presume those creators have some issues and can't be around that kind of stuff anymore. He actually typed something else, but let's talk about that. Can I cover Donald Trump without going off on a tangent? I just went off on a tangent about how much I don't like him, but I wanted him to have a real fair day in court to where nobody could argue it. I have a problem with politicians. It's not Trump. It's politicians and politics. If he was still just a land grabber in New York, they would have dragged him in for the good reasons. You know, the shit he's actually possibly guilty of. And then it would have been like watching My Cousin Vinny and shit. It would have been entertainment. And oh God, he would have been very New Yorker about it. If anybody's not aware of it, I was in the past very impressed with Donald Trump. I'm not anymore because I think he's just getting old and I think he's losing touch. I'm not kidding about that part. It's actually sad. I miss the old Donald Trump. But he's no longer with us. I've been watching you for years. You should maybe run your explanations along the bottom of the screen about medical issues, etc., etc. I've done a video on the previous channel where I did that. Nobody watched it. Nobody cared. I tried making it an intro video where I explained that I have certain issues. And then I actually realized I didn't cover them well enough. I went ahead and looked up everything I had wrong with me that's a current permanent problem. Screw it. It's like explaining to people I was a chronic smoker for 20 years. That would be a simpler explanation. I've even thought of doing that. But chronic smokers do not have the medical problems I do that are really just bad enough to make it to where I'm annoyed. Real smokers have to go to the hospital. People like me with lung damage due to, I tried listing them all and it's like, I think I missed some stuff. I just have a lot of medical problems that are caused permanent, really dinky. I shouldn't even bitch about this stuff. But it makes me cough and sneeze and gag all the time. People just eventually get used to it, or they don't, and they don't talk to me anymore. And I can't do anything about it. I have complete sympathy for them. But yeah, I'm not going to do any videos on Trump or look him up anymore because it's becoming frustrating again. See? Preoccupation. So yeah, people are preoccupied with the Delphi murders or JFK or whatever. If you have relatives or friends that are triggered by some things, here's the question. This is actually the tangent I went off on and forgot. Do you think you should be able to get a court order that makes it to where people have to have their inbox filtered to where they can't see anything that'll make them lose their fucking mind anymore? That means you'd have to tell some of your friends, you know what, we got a court order. You can't look up what's going on in politics. Let's get to that. Should we either be legally compelled to or maybe voluntarily decide that we're going to filter all the news out? Voluntarily, yes, I've done that. I filtered out all news for 12 years. I'd get the news anyway, but I didn't actively look into it. I blocked it because it was for my sanity. Maybe we need to do that again, some of us. Anyway, I like the presentation you're currently using. It's kind of a Colonel Kurtz thing about it, Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. If I was to screenshot you smiling and sticking your thumb up, would I be able to use that as my image? You'd need to color correct it and add funny colors to it. Use the troll face. Kind of a downer that you've never made an episode about my comments, but I guess it's probably a good thing. Now we'll find out. So again, the question I asked, which I completely forgot about, is Do you think we should filter ourselves, or should we allow the court to filter people if it's really making them crazy? Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.